Good Nation, welcome back to your fractional episode, your end of the weekend episode, your maybe Monday morning commute type of vibe.
Your fractional report brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell.
I love how you always get that plugged in. So, Cage went to a show today.
I did.
A couple of quick notes. So, and you could choose any one of these or kind of audible and pick what you want to go with. So, LeBron market. Kind of saw a little bit of a dip, given that the Lakers didn't make any moves around the trade deadline. What do you expect for his market? Giannis National Treasures, 140K buyout, bumped to 200K buyout, approved. It was trading at 120,000, so that's a pretty big premium. What does that tell you about the Giannis market? And Herbert, as expected, huge bounce back week on his National Treasures, up 85%. And there were some PWCC auctions that ended. So have your pick. Anything there that's interesting to you? You went to a show today. You could start with that because it's kind of buzzy.
Oh, listen, I mean, yes, 100%. So you've picked – I definitely want to talk about the Herbert, and I definitely want to talk about the Giannis. So good thing, great. I mean, I always take notes. That's my prep. I got a whole page of notes. And you see right on top one is Herbert. And what I used on that is FOMO is the word next to Herbert. We can talk about that, right? Because a little bit of FOMO driving an 85% increase week over week. And Giannis is right here. The other two. So I got FOMO. I got Herbert up top and Giannis, the big guy with the star on it. So they're definitely both on my notes to chat about. And so it's good. I mean, you're picking out the stuff. And LeBron, I try to give a couple of them on my notes of ones that are down from the week to week, right? What they were, what the share price was 2 weeks ago, last week, this week, and look at the trend. LeBron was the top two on my trend identifier. And I do it, just so you guys know, I do it in a way where I look at the data without looking at who the card is. And I pull out cards blind based on what the trading was last week, the week before, and how it's trending to see whether or not there's a card that may be a bargain, maybe something that's has fallen too low because of a liquidity event. And two of the three that I pulled out were LeBron's. So interesting that those are your topics. Seems to be we're on the same page today. Just a quick little note, because there are people out there who need to hear this stuff, right? And I count myself among you. I need to hear this stuff from time to time also, right? You need to test the pulse, right? Take a little pulse on the hobby. They do it, you put your arm out, you go like this, you sheesh, like one of these kind of things, right? You got to do the check the pulse. The last time I went to this show that I went to today, it's a local show in Long Island, New York. It was, I know that surprises a lot of you who listen to me and watch this show. I'm from New York. I don't sound like it at all. But the last time I went, I got to tell you, I was a little nervous. There was nobody there. Same cards, same people, not a lot of activity, not a lot of trading, not a lot of kids. And today I went expecting not much. I brought both of my kids with me today, figuring, we'll be in and out, we'll be quick. The parking lot was packed. We couldn't even get a spot. It was pretty crazy. And it was very difficult to maneuver and walk around the show. It was very heavily populated. It's kind of like the market last year around this time where we saw highs in prices and you name it. I will say a lot of people walking around with cases of cards. And, Ian, my son, he likes to set up camp right outside and, walk up to people with his cards and trade. He actually sold a couple Tatises today. Make deals, trade, and you see people walk by, and we stop people with cases. One guy's got a sticker Canada on his case. It's like a luggage case. I'm like, is that full of cards? Yeah, 100%. So cool collection. Take it out, take a look at it. I noticed a lot of people today had two things in their cases that I didn't see as much of 6 months ago or a year ago.
Okay.
I'm not going to make you guess because it could be anything. It could be Marvel. Could be, could be anything. So I'm not going to make you guess. But the two things that I saw.
It's probably Wander Franco cards.
No, that would be great if it was. No, the two things I saw in cases that I didn't see a lot of were soccer cards. People just with loads of soccer. This particular guy had a really awesome 2017 Chrome Lewandowski gold PSA 10 out of 50. I mean, a real nice card. Tough to comp that one out. And a bunch of Haaland and a bunch of soccer. But also cases filled with SGC slabs. No, Scouts Honor. You guys know, not this particular show. We are partners with SGC, and a lot of buzz around SGC today. A lot of people talking about SGC, slabs, about recent pricing in SGC. It's never unanimous, right? There's always people who love BGS, always people who say I'm PSA only. But a lot of people are saying, that they're submitting with SGC. They're getting a lot of cards back. I ran into our friend Bagels. Vadim was
Do you
there.
know? Do you know why I
Bagels
think
and
it
Wax.
is, Cage?
He said
So
he just got back some from SGC. But yeah, tell me, what do you got?
so I think like chess, like if you could, think 1, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead as opposed to one step ahead, you could kind of get an advantage. The reason why I think SGCs become popular and people appreciate the value that they bring to the market is, let's say you sub a card with SGC for $20, $20 card, you pay $30 in grading, you get it back, it's a $150 card. At the show, you sell it for $120, right? Here you are, you have 70 extra bucks to spend at the show. The person that bought it from you has a good deal. And now there's liquidity pouring into the hobby, right? You took a $20 card, turned in $150, paid a grading fee. Now you have $70 extra cash profit that you're going to go and use at a show. And, maybe you start buying soccer. And then there's that liquidity and that chain effect that happens that I think when PSA BGS were closed in the last 12 months, we didn't have. So going to a show is expensive. You have gas, you have tolls, you have to get a hotel room, you fly. You need those cards that you're in really cheap and that you could sell and make $100, $70. You could recoup your expenses.
Yep.
I think that's a bigger deal than we realize, because if you're going to a show in the hope of hitting a home run, but you have no profit and you're already expenses, gas, all that stuff I just mentioned, that's tough.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is. Listen, people are doing their thing, and people are definitely, this particular person was at the Wayne show yesterday, flying in, coming in from Orlando, and that kind of stuff. So people are definitely, hitting shows. People are definitely going to shows and doing that stuff. So it's definitely cool to see that. But yeah, I mean, the point is, people are. What I was nervous about with PSA shutdown and all that stuff. And not being able to grade, and if people can't grade and color up their collection, what are you going to do? There are a lot of kids there trying to trade raw. I mean, Ian wasn't ready to trade away his graded stuff or their raw stuff, but I'm sure there are people doing raw trades. There were definitely a lot of kids there. A lot of youngsters. At one point, Ian pushed his entire stack. He had a stack, Zion Prism Green PSA 10. He had some Shohei PSA 10s, a whole stack of cards, maybe 20 cards. In like an all-in poker game, a kid it was raw, but it had a LaMelo Mosaic Genesis in real nice shape. So, the kid wanted Ian's Zion. He didn't want to move his Genesis. And Ian's like, how about the whole stack? Push in the chips. It's like, I'll trade you the whole thing. The kid was thinking, but they couldn't, it was a little too much. It was a little heavy baseball. The kid wasn't a baseball guy,
How about the whole stack? All right,
yeah,
Ian.
how about the whole stack? Exactly. Just take the whole stack. How about the whole stack? And, you got to trade up, man. You got to color up. That's the way stuff goes. So, yeah, I mean, listen, we have some fun stuff to talk about today. Let me start off with that Giannis, because I want to talk about the Giannis buyout. And we talked about how the other Giannis's, may move and that kind of stuff. But give folks, as we're recording this as the All-Star game is on, give folks your 2-minute spiel on Giannis. Let them know what your thought is on Giannis itself, okay?
Interestingly, so the person who bought that Giannis was the old price on Instagram. We share a group with that guy. You know what I'm talking about, right, Cage?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the old price, yep.
And interestingly, the comments, and I actually think, like, if the comments on Instagram say one thing, the market's probably doing something else.
Tell me, what do the comments say? Comments say stupid? What do the comments say? Yeah, that'd be great.
The comments say you got to steal.
Yeah.
And he said that as well. He thought he got a really good deal.
So do I, by the way.
It was but think about that. That's really interesting. The buyer thought he got a steal, but the card on Collectable was trading for $120,000, and the buyer thought he got a deal for $200,000, almost double the amount.
So let's set it up. What card was it? Right? How many are there? What was it? BGS? It was BGS 9, right?
Well, we've beat this card over the head. Everyone knows what card we're talking about. It's the Giannis National Treasures PSA 9, 2-color patch.
BGS.
Is it BGS 9?
I think it's BGS.
Okay,
9. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, wait, PSA 9. PSA 9. Yep, PSA 9. Yep.
What a guy.
It's PSA 9. Yep. Some of the emails say the wrong thing. PSA 9. First IPO at 112,000. Last trade at 123.
Correct.
Yep, PSA 9. Pretty crazy.
So what do I think with the Giannis market? one, it shows you the inefficiencies between fractional and what the market's willing to pay. Both, some things are going to be overpriced, right? Memorabilia, it got ahead of itself, but some things are going to be way underpriced. And this is an interesting one that I'm surprised at how in front of people's face it was and how underpriced it was. I think Giannis is a great buy right now, Cage. I do. I've talked about it for a while. I think here's the one thing that I really like is if you look at jersey sales, forget his accomplishments. We know that. I've already talked about that. He's third in jersey sales only to LeBron and Steph. And people say there's no market for Giannis, all that stuff. He's in a small market, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the numbers don't back that up. So he's third in jersey sales. Curry's going to retire soon. LeBron's retiring soon. Giannis is going to be the face of the NBA for 5 to 6 years. I think sky's the limit for the guy. And I think that's what the buyer saw. He saw someone who's already accomplished a lot, but has a ton of upside. Whereas with LeBron, the worry is he's accomplished a lot, but where's the upside, as you saw with his market?
I mean, I'm curious. So you're telling me that the market on this one, the comments in Instagram were universally, hey, you got a deal.
Yep, I'll pull them up right now. So thanks, Collectable. For letting this one go. Great buy, excellent purchase, sick card, absolute fire. This is the one you got on Collectable, so this is a steal even at 200K. It's too low. Great scoop. And he replied, I've been posting about this for weeks. The previous 140K was laughable. He said it is. Not sure how this was had for lower than a John Morant 9.5, but I guess it is the same as Burrow getting way too close to Patty. All the comments were, this is a sick buy, sick buy, sick buy.
So here's the thing, guys, right? So it's a PSA 9, and it was $200,000, right? What is it out of 25? It's the card? What is this one out of?
Let me pull it up, Cage. I'll have to pull it up on my phone, okay?
Pull it up for me if you can, or I can also. Because I know this one's out of 25, this one's out of 99, National Treasure stuff. There's all kinds of fun stuff on these. And guys, while he's pulling
99, 11 out of 99, dual color patch. Looks like it's the front of the jersey.
So listen, here's the fun stuff on this, right? Everybody loves that out of 99, right? Everybody does. Everybody loves the out of 99. That's kind of like the bellwether National Treasures card. We talked about how this may have an impact. That was before the increase up to $200,000 when it was $140,000 buyout on the other Giannis that was on the market. And you'll notice that card went up about 20% this past week. The gold, the immaculate, I think, right? Yep. So I have a feeling
that one's a BGS 9.
Yeah, see, I get them confused. I have a feeling that will that will probably also get another look from folks. Especially
we're gonna have some price discovery in that one. I agree.
Yeah, especially if the same thing occurs, right? People, it's not the same card. Yeah, obviously, National Treasures out of 99. But let me ask you something, okay?
Like when
anyone now, right? Let me ask you something. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Giannis, Luka, Trey, name anybody, okay? Let me ask what you would rather have. Would you rather have, and I'm gonna give you as comp as I can, a National Treasures out of 99 in PSA 9, or the National Treasures Gold, which is out of 25 in BGS 8? Same card. Whether it's, let's just use the Giannis. Use this Giannis that was there. Would you rather have the one that just sold for $200,000 in 11 out of 99 in PSA 9, or the out of 25? Also nice green and white patch. Gold out of 25 in a BGS 8. I'll give you the subs if you want. 88859. 0.5 away from a BGS 8.5.
That's really interesting. I would say that they are equal. They're neck and neck.
Okay, if you were to, I don't want you to share your screen, but if you were, there's a reason I asked this stuff, right? Because we're not going to know on a card like that, Giannis, not 99. The reason why we talked about that is because it's a rarity, right? People who have those, they're not coming up for auction that often, which is why you go to Collectable to buy. But while it's not an identical card, you could think they're similar. Some people would rather have the 99 because that is the quote true RPA that people like. Some people would rather have the 25 gold, even in a lesser slab. Do you know that last night's PWCC auction, the premier auction, had a Giannis 2013 National Treasures Gold. National Treasures out of 25. Nice green and white patch. It looks like it has either part of his name or part of like the Milwaukee on it. Definitely letters. There's a bottom of an N, I think, on it. And it was 89858, and it sold for $180,000.
That's perfect. That's exactly where I would price that.
So there we go. So if we're comparable, we're the same, right? Then that one at 200, this one at 180. It to me, and it's not an exact comp, right? Because it's out of 25 versus out of 99.
Is it horizontal?
No, it's the same card. It's vertical. You can take a look at it. I mean, if I share my screen, I would share it to you. I can probably, email you a link if you wanted to. But it's the same kind of like scribbly auto, GA, same kind of madness that's there. And yeah, I mean, but it sold for $180,000, which leads me to the next one, right? The Giannis Gold, the one that's on the platform, the Gold Immaculate, right? What is that out of? What's a gold? If you know.
I'll pull it up. The issue cage is, if I share my screen right now in Collectable, they're building out the desktop version. So it doesn't have the data yet.
It's okay. I'm just curious whether or not the gold is numbered out of what's it numbered out of? Is also out of 25, because just so for comparison, right? Because right now this Giannis is gone. It's off the platform. But actionable, I want to give comps. I want to also let people know, hey, if you voted for that, hey, there was a BGS 8 out of 25 that sold for 180 last night. So for those of you who were out there who voted to accept that, it was a reasonable one, right? So go ahead.
I think the Immaculate is the best buy of all three of these.
Well, so
it's out of 10.
It's out of 10. Okay, so it's out of 10, and it's $10.9 a share, 4,950 shares, which puts this what, high 50s market value, 50 something $1,000 market value. Gold out of 10, BGS 9. Okay, so guys, and that's up like 20%. Because we talked about this last week. I'm going to talk about it again. So last night, a BGS 9, also on PWCC's auction, magic, right? What we do is great, because when there are, especially the episodes we do the day after the premier auction ends or where Golden ends, you happen to have comps. So now we're not talking about a difference between the out of 99 and out of 25. Now we're talking about an out of 10. But guess what? It's the flip side. Collectable had a 99 National Treasures. Premier auction had a 25. Collectable has the better one, the gold out of 10. And it's a BGS 9. Last night, a BGS 9 with a similar patch, nice, multicolor patch. BGS 9, 959, 959. So 0.5 away. So that's nice. It's a nice, remember with BGS, you got to look at those subs. Sold for 38.4.
Wow.
That's out of 99.
That's a steal.
That's out of 99.
Oh, it's a 99?
Out of 99. The one on Collectibles out of 10.
Wow.
The one on Collectibles out of 10. And it's, that was 38. The one on Collectibles like 57. Maybe even less. It's the market.
Let me ask you, Paige. Do you ever feel bad?
Like 53. So yeah, I mean, it's only like $15,000 more to get the gold. I'd much rather have the gold.
Do you ever feel bad? And I'll ask you why. Because you're a jokester, right?
Yes, I am.
For what do you say? The last 3 weeks, I've been talking about Giannis.
Yes.
What if the people on the other side of this listening? Do you ever think like maybe because you've been joking, they might have missed out on Giannis because you thought it was all a joke?
No, but it's not a joke. His cards are undervalued, not because I think he's going to win this year. I don't think he's going to win this year. I still don't think he's going to win this year. That's not a joke. I don't think he's better. I don't think his team. He's great. I don't think.
So why are his cards going up?
There are a lot of people whose cards are going up. Didn't Joe Burrow's cards go up? Right? Do you ever feel bad? Do you feel bad? You talk about Joe Burrow, you talk about a bunch of guys, and not all of them can win the Super Bowl. Do you feel bad the people who you told to buy Joe Burrow or any other people in the football season when not all of them can win? Right? Keep in mind, you told people to buy Ja, you told people to buy Chris Paul, you told people to buy Devin Booker, you told people to buy Giannis. The only person you didn't tell them to buy is Embiid, who I tell them to buy, and he's probably going to win the MVP. So, no, I don't feel bad. You should. Okay, what do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about Herbert?
Do you think our audience capitalized on this Giannis bull run?
No, because it's very hard to capitalize on the high-end cards. And it's funny, on our show, you talk about buying things like the Playmakers or some card, I don't even remember what it was. What card was your Giannis play? some sort of weird thing. What we're talking about here are legitimate investable assets. We're talking about rookies from National Treasures. We're talking about rookies from Immaculate. We're talking about cards that you can only buy in premier auctions for the price of a Mercedes. You can only buy in Collectable in a buyout for the price of a house. We're not talking about buying a Giannis card. You know what I saw today at the show? I saw a dozen kids walking around with Giannis Prism cards. Those are not cards that are going to appreciate. Base, just regular base.
Graded?
Regular base ones. Some raw. Ian was trying to trade for a raw one. And the kid said, no, I'm into this for way too much money. I'm down on this bad, so I can't really trade it now. I got to hang on to it.
That's an expensive card for a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he had just traded away a lot of his stuff for it. But listen, Giannis is I mean, if we're laying all our cards on the table, Giannis is not in a good market. Giannis has an interesting supporting cast. Giannis is not the most marketable person on earth. Otherwise, you'd have the NBA trying to market him a little bit better. Part of that is because he's in Milwaukee.
But he's third in jersey sales.
Yeah, so.
Doesn't matter?
No. Jersey sales only tell some of the story. Give me the other top 10, and let's see which ones you're investing in.
So as you kind of go,
10.
Yeah, this is third. But as you kind of keep going down, like you said, you're right. Like Giannis is a blue chip, Ja, Burrow, etc. Let's talk about Jayson Tatum. So this is a guy who's turned things around. The team's turned things around.
We talked about him, right? Remember?
Goldsberry.
That National Treasures a couple weeks ago. We brought that up and said, hey, if all the National Treasures are going to fly, why not talk about the Tatum? 100%.
So he's had 2 solid bounce back weeks. And his card, the card on Collectable that he has is the Panini Flawless PSA 10. Gorgeous card. Up 14% this month. Do you think maybe this isn't just Giannis? Maybe this is kind of a bull run on players that could do well in the postseason? Could that be it?
Yeah.
Do we start seeing more of a bull run?
Listen, Tatum, he's got the flawless RPA. It's a PSA 10. It's a difficult card to obtain and that grade and that stuff. What's funny about it is, it was up 9% and 5.1% 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago, and then it was flat this past week. I looked at this card. It wasn't up the last 2 weeks. It was actually up 2 weeks and 3 weeks ago, and this week was actually flat, which is weird. They killed the Sixers, but then they lost to the Pistons. And this is one of those cards, one of the rare ones that you talk about where performance matters, right? This one was it's one of the few cards right now that is moving with the performance. You know what I mean? That they had that win streak and the card was up. The win streak card was up. They beat the heck out of the Sixers, but then all of a sudden, a little Achilles heel there shows up against the Pistons, and it was flat. Also, when you have a 15% run up in 2 weeks, you got to expect it to kind of a little bit of the helium's out of the balloon. But yeah, I think you're right on this as usual. I think this is just a young star, marketable, has a shot. We can name a half dozen teams right now that could win the East. The Celtics are in it. They've showed you that the last couple of weeks. Anybody can catch fire after the All-Star break. They obviously have a young core that's as good as any. And these high-end, flawless, National Treasures, Immaculate, these cards in high grade, they're just not available. And people, when they're going to look to invest in somebody that they think is going to be a star this year, playoff run, championship, and good for years to come, those are the kind of cards they look for, like the Tatum Flawless. That's on here. 100%.
I love it. So what else?
Well, Herbert. Let's talk about Herbert, right? Let's talk about Herbert for a minute, right? So Herbert, I'll give you my spiel in 30 seconds, and then you tell me. We've come on here and talked about Herbert. We've talked about Herbert just not on this show and the other show, and how he didn't make the playoffs, and people have soured on him, especially with Burrow kind of going and passing him, maybe for hobby relevance, you name it, which is weird because it's amazing how 6 weeks can kind of change the entire landscape. But we all said that there'll be a point where the Herbert sell-off is a little bit too much. It's just a matter of finding when that is. We talked about it last week. It was down for 4 weeks straight, and then all of a sudden, boom, someone starts buying it, and then everybody's it's the fear of missing out, because it's like, all right, it must have hit that bottom, and boom, right? It's up 85% this week, and after that huge slide, that huge raise brought it up back past the IPO price again. So what do you think about that? You think that's human nature? You think that's just okay? The Herbert supporters came out in full force and bought back in. What are your thoughts?
Herbert's interesting, man. There's as much detractors as there are his like loyal followers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's got a really rabid, passionate fan base that swear by him. So I do believe that it's kind of his the Herbert army kind of buying back in and saying our guy's too cheap. Look at Joe Burrow. Okay, he had a good run. Why can't our guy have that same run next year? I think he's
Yeah.
overpriced.
You think he's still overpriced? Herbert.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good. I think he's got a cannon for an arm, but I think prove to me that San Diego could win anything there, and then we'll start talking.
One of the cool things about where we are is, I mean, I don't watch the games for basketball as much as you do, so I have to take your basketball wisdom, at face value. You know the games, you're usually right more often than you are, but you did not, step on my play of saying Herbert has been overpriced for 2 years now, right? I came into the season saying sell your damn Herbert cards because not that I don't like him, not that I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's going to be fantastic, but it's just you're seeing even Mahomes. Mahomes was the same kind of thing. It's difficult to get through the gauntlet of the AFC. It's difficult to get through the NFL. It's difficult to win Super Bowls in the NFL. And some of these young guys are priced as if they're already Brady or very close to Brady, Mahomes included. And you've seen the Mahomes stuff kind of come down because of that. Herbert was priced as if he was going to win the MVP this year, and he might win it next year. Who knows? You know what I mean? You never know, what 1 year, just look at what Joe Burrow did. But the price of these cards already had multiple MVPs, multiple championships already priced in. And with all these young guys out there, it can't happen for all of them. So I've been saying that for a while. I will say this. At the prices that they were at, Herbert became attractive. We were talking about this because if you watch him play, I mean, he may be the most quarterback looking of all of them at a young age. I mean, Burrow looks good, but Herbert just looks like that statue, slightly mobile, has a cannon, looks like he can go ahead and play QB at any level, and basically for any team. So, yeah, I mean, this doesn't surprise me. A little bit of FOMO. Interesting stuff. Definitely interesting stuff. You want to stick with football? You want to move to basketball? Where do you want to go with this? Because we could talk about Brady a little bit, right? What happened with the Brady stuff?
Tom Brady, SP Authentic down 1%, nothing too crazy. After being down double digits for 2 weeks in a row. Sorry, that's kind of a mouthful. He was down 14% last week, and then the week before 20%. It's what I said last week. I guess I'll repeat it because we do an episode every day. I'm sure not everyone could hear what we have to say every single day. I think when you have a run up so sustained, right? Like you look at Tesla Motors, it's just been running for like a decade. There comes a point where, and it's usually a period of time something actually happens, where investors say, okay, I'm going to take profit right here. I'm already in it so good. It doesn't, like if you're into a card for $40, it shoots up to 5,000 and you sell it for 3,900. Not that big of a deal, but that's a big drop. That's 20%, 30% was. So I think Brady had such a sustained run up for such a long time, over a year, that this was just inevitable. He retired. There's not much that's going to happen with him and his cards. People are taking his profit, using that money, whether to pay off bills, reinvest in other stuff, take profit off the table. That's all I think it is. I think there will come a point where there's equilibrium and you'll be another opportunity to rebuy in. I would let the dust settle. I think that the prices could come down even more.
Okay. The rookie ticket, the Contenders Championship ticket out of 100 on Collectable.
Yep.
That's a BGS 8.5. What's the auto grade on that?
Let me pull it up for you. I'm pretty sure it's a 10. Contenders, the two BGS 9s, right?
No, the BGS 8.5. Not the basket, the one that's the
10 auto. 10 auto.
It's a 10 auto. Okay. So that has 215,000 shares. It was up this past week. So even though some of the Brady's were a little on the flatter side, that one was up slightly to 10.11 per share, which puts a market cap of 2,173,650. I bring that up. I do the math. I make Andrew pull up the card just to check the 8.510 because of comps. I want to make sure everyone knows this. It doesn't mean it's going down. Doesn't mean it's going up. Doesn't mean anything because it's pinned right there. at $2,040,000, so $133,000 less, which puts it 5-6% less. Premier Auction had one end last night. PWCC BGS 8.5 with a 10 auto, about as comp as you're going to get. There's only 100 of these in any grade out there, so to see another 8.510, it's good to watch that one because if that came in at 1.6 and you're holding this one at 2.17, you'd want to know that it came in at 2.04. If you're holding this at 2.17, you might have liked to see that at 2.5, but it wasn't. I want to make sure you guys know, pricing on that for Brady.
That's expensive, man. I think that's run a lot.
It's a lot of money, but there's not a lot of those, and it's definitely not a lot of those in high grade, and not a lot with 10 autos. So you got to factor all that in. There are BGS 8s out there. There are ones that have 9 autos. So to get one that's at least an 8.5 with a 10 auto, now you're talking about some of the better out of 100 that are there. That's a lot of money. I mean, it's $2 million.
Let's say there's 50 of those out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the buy-in point for that? I mean, the guy who owns that card, is he in it for 50,000? Is he in it for 100,000? Because what I'm saying is, yeah, it is a rare grade. Yeah, it is a 10 auto. I hear all that, but at the end of the day, if you're into that card for 50,000, the guy's just retired, and it goes to 2.5 million. It's really hard not to take $2 million.
Right there. Woo.
It's really tough.
$2 million.
It's really tough not to.
I mean, if I was in it for 50,000, I'd definitely be thinking twice or 7 times about taking $2 million off the table. Especially because it's run so much. I got to tell you, the one thing about that card that I wouldn't sell right now is I'm not completely convinced he's done. Right? I mean, I wouldn't go bet even money that he's coming back, right? But sneaky, take a look. Some of the casinos out there actually have odds on Tom Brady winning the MVP this year coming up. So I'm not the only one who thinks there's a chance that he's playing next year. I don't know where, I don't know when, but it's a funny thing about these guys, right? That when you do it at that high of a level, you might miss it, especially somebody like him. I mean, maybe he's ready to be 45 years old, but it's not like he can't do it. You know what I mean? He obviously is doing it at a high level. No one had more yards and more touchdowns than him.
I don't see. Yeah, I hear you. I don't know what the value would be to him. Like, why would he retire then come back?
I guess it depends. A lot of quarterbacks have retired and come back. They get off the couch and they're going. Look at Eric Weddle. He's not a QB. But that dude came off a couch, played for a couple of weeks, and won a Super Bowl ring. You know what I mean?
Eric Weddle's not Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Mary, quarterback, Vinny Testaverde. I remember the Jets. Oh, let's pick him up, call him off the couch. Could you see a situation where, he comes in and plays for a team where the quarterback goes down? I mean, who knows? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying I would not be shocked if next year we saw Tom Brady playing. That's all. He's one of those interesting cats. Uh-huh.
If he comes back, he'll come back before training camp.
Okay. You're just saying he's going to make a decision, come back, because that's his way of doing it.
Because, dude, that's who he is. Like, he loves practice. He loves training. And I think part of the reason he's so good is not because of his athleticism. It's because of his preparation. And I think he needs that training camp. He needs to get to know his wide receivers. Why did he bring Gronk? Because that's his safety blanket. They know each other.
It's like bringing a whoopee with you. He's got to bring that Gronk. So, listen, why don't we do this, right? I mean, we'll see what happens with Brady. Just know that comp is out there. Let's talk about LeBron. Let's talk about some auctions that people should pay attention to this week coming up. Let's talk about some of the things that are out there, the buyout front, action on that, the IPOs and that kind of stuff. Let's talk about LeBron first. I'll run with LeBron. Just as an overall summary of LeBron, only 2 of the 13 LeBron assets on the platform right now. We're talking about the Melo Bosch James triple logo man, which was up 1.7%, and the 04 emblems of endorsement BGS 9 up 5.3%. Those were the only ones that saw gains this week. 11 of them were down, with the ultimate BGS 9.5 down a significant amount, and the dual logo man with him and Melo. An interesting play if you thought the Lakers are going to be good this year. It's fun that that's down as much as it was, because I think this was kind of, investors out there saying, okay, this Lakers team is not winning this year. Yeah, Davis get injured, right? And they're talking about reevaluating that in 4 weeks. They did nothing at the trade deadline. Now a story came out today about Anthony Davis going to Miami. right? So that team is in a little bit of a state of disarray there. They're all crying for Alex Caruso back, and it just doesn't look like that team's going to do much out in the West this year. And that was a
take of
preseason
LeBron
favorite.
LeBron doesn't make his teammates better. That take aged pretty well, didn't it, Joshua?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's an interesting take. It definitely is, and right now they don't look so good. So there's LeBron.
Think about this. Think about if you're investing in LeBron market.
Mm-hmm.
What does the guy care about right now, right?
Playing
When I
stuff.
invest, so thank you. That's actually exactly it. When I invest, the best investments I have is where like my incentives are aligned with the other person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Cool. So right now, LeBron's incentive isn't to win. And you would say everyone wants to win. Well, no, that's not the case. And you could listen to Kobe interviews talk about this. Everyone in the NBA is in it for different reasons. Some players are like, I just got financial security for life. I'm good. Giannis, I believe, is out there chasing a legacy. Chris Paul is out there chasing his first championship. He's hungry, right? He wants to add to his legacy. What I think LeBron wants to do to add to his legacy is play with his son because that's cool. Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr., that will be remembered in history. I'm not sure that's ever been done in the NBA. Correct me if I'm wrong. So right now, investing in the LeBron market, what are you really investing in? What's going to move the needle for him? And I don't think there's much out there in the short term. Long term, of course, he's top 5 to top 2 of all time.
Okay. So you're just basically a seller on LeBron. Does it matter that his legacy is already set?
I was never a buyer on LeBron.
Okay.
I said, like, personally, I was never a buyer on LeBron, but I do believe his market, it's not going to be volatile. It's not going to go up too much. It's not going to go down too much, but I don't see anything short term that would be where you would plant your money.
Okay. Easy enough. All right. How about you want to talk about what recent IPOs, what's coming out, some buyout offers?
Sure. Type 1, Cage. Type 1. Yesterday, Spike Lee who did he have sign the Type 1?
It was Dr. J was signing the in 1980 Topps card that has Magic. Dr. J in the middle, the scoring leaders card, the Magic Bird. So you pull one out, but he also had a Type 1 photo of him. He wasn't getting him signed because it was already slapped in the PSA slap.
So I know you're chasing this. So Luca Nation, if I could ask you for one thing, don't outbid my buddy, please. So there's Type 1. Bay bows out. We just talked about this. There's one on Heritage Auction right now, $22,000. So that's super, super cool. IPOs upcoming. So National Treasure Basketball 2017, 2018, 2019. I think this is just a wax basket for National Treasures of 2018, 19, and 20. I think it's 3 cases. I don't have a link here to verify that, but that's been fully funded. Let's talk about the IPOs. How about that?
Okay.
So we have an IPO tonight, Sunday. The Luka Doncic game worn and side photo matched 5 games sneakers, 82,000. That's kind of cool. 82,000 market cap with 18% retained. This is right after Collectable's going to go live right after the All-Star game. You guys are going to be listening to this the day after. Milton Bradley, Nolan Ryan, PSA 9. That's a really iconic card. Cage, maybe you want to talk about why that card is so valuable. 1968. And that's 154,000 market cap, 32% retained. 2016 Kobe Bryant game worn Black History Month photo match sneakers, 72,000 market cap. I think those are too cheap. There's not much game worn Kobe stuff out there. So 72, anything you can get Kobe game worn under 100,000, I think is just a steal in today's marketplace. 1948 Leaf Warren Spawn, PSA 9, 86,000 market cap. 1961 Fleer Will Chamberlain, that's going to be freaking sick. PSA 9, 320,000 market cap with 16% retained. And then, yep, that's it.
Lots of stuff. What do you want to talk about first?
You tell me, brother.
Well, listen, there's a lot of stuff coming out.
That was a lot of reading.
A lot of stuff coming out. So I got a few that I want to make sure everybody is aware of, right? Don't bid against me on the Babe, but no, seriously, obviously you 100% can. But let's talk about a couple of things that people are going to want to pay attention to. Let's let's talk about three things. The Babe Bows Out. Obviously, we have that one. We have that one that's just recently offered. It's currently sitting at 26,400 in Heritage Auctions. So Heritage Auction ends in 6 days from today, right? Ends this coming weekend. We'll do a recap on that. It's another great weekend for us to do our show for Collectable next week. You'll see we'll have Heritage comps on that one, 3 that I'm looking at. So that one's there. I think that one moves a little bit. The Mickey Mantle 52 Tops PSA 8 is one that I am definitely looking at. The one sitting on Collectable right now is currently sitting with a 1.21 million market cap. All right, so just over 1.2 million. With 6 days left, that PSA 8 mantle at Heritage is over $1 million already. With 6 days left to bid, it's at $1,050,000. We'll talk about 1 or 2 more bids, and all of a sudden the Collectable one starts to look a little bit more attractive. Same thing with the Ricky Henderson rookie, a card that I want. We've talked about Ricky Henderson. I like that card a lot. It's currently sitting on Collectable with approximately $105,000 market cap. I think if I did my math right. At Heritage, it's at $87,000 right now. Again, still 6 days left. So interesting stuff there, guys. Comps to watch. It'll be fun to watch during the week, right? If you are, if you're somebody who's in those cards or somebody who is, thinking about investing in those cards, you have comps, actual comps of the same thing. The Babe Bows Out, a Heritage PSA 10, a Henderson PSA 10, and a Mantle 8. And you have to pay attention to these things, guys, right? Because for the longest time, we were coming on here and talk. So I'm going to give you two sides of the different coin here, and we can end on this if you like, okay? The comps matter because I think the comps are going to dictate what winds up happening in the coming week. So hopefully you're listening to this, the Fractional Report brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell. We hope you're listening to it before the opening bell because these are 2 things, you stayed with us for 42 minutes, that I think are actionable, real actionable, okay? Number 1, how many times did you and I talk about the exquisite box, the 2003-4 sealed exquisite box? And we talked about how,
quite a bit.
The value right now is, I think it's like $111,000, $112,000 on Collectable. I'm pretty sure that's what it's at. And we were talking about how there was a sealed case that sold for $900,000. It was a $300,000 box. So this, this is a steal. It's and we talked about how a case carries with it this huge weight because that's like a museum thing. It's a sealed case. We saw it with Logan Paul paying, multiple for a G.I. Joe. A sealed case that turned out to be G.I. Joe. And we wondered, what is a good price? What's the actual price for an exquisite box? Now, keep in mind, sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. If you guys looked at the premier auction with PWCC last night, there were 7-figure cards. There were a ton of 6-figure cards. Things like, Kobe Exquisite Collection, PSA 10 one of one sold for $360,000. There was a Charizard. There were a ton of high-priced SGCs. A Jordan PSA 10 sold for $240,000, the lowest it sold for in a little bit of time. And I think it's because there was just so much high-end, top-level cool stuff in there that card got pushed down, right? There was a lot of really high-end stuff. So when you have a $240,000, $250,000, Michael Jordan card being pushed down by the high-end stuff, other things have a tendency to also fall, right? There was a exquisite collection patches Jordan that fell. So many things, but sneaky in there. You got to look at these things. You got to research this stuff. There was an exquisite box. There was a 2003-4 basketball sealed hobby box, LeBron James RPA right there in the title. You want to take a guess what it sold for? You don't have to guess. $72,000.
Wow.
So now we have a recent comp of a sealed exquisite box, LeBron RPA possibility at $72,000, right? So we have on Collectable 7,975, shares at $14 a share right now. That gives you $111,000, $112,000. At $72,000, that share price is about 50% higher than it should be, or 50% higher than a recent comp. Let's say that instead. So these comps, well, remember, it's just one sale. It got buried. I'm not running out and selling a Michael Jordan rookie card right now just because of one sale, one comp, especially when there was so much high-end stuff out there, so many other things people spend their money on. But it is a data point. It's something that, people who are invested in this should be aware of, that there's now a comparable sale of an exquisite collection box at $72,000, and the Collectable one has a market cap of $111,650. Now, I don't want to leave you with that. will go in the other direction, right? We'll go in the other direction. We've also talked about this card, and not all of them are the same. It's one I like. It's one that I'm not happy to see go up. The shareholders should be happy to see because I haven't grabbed one from my collection yet. In an OPG 1979 PSA 9 Gretzky rookie. Want one? Want to pair it up with my Jordan? Have the goats of goats, the easy clear cut goats, and put them up there at the top of my Christmas tree next year. I never did. The one that's sitting on Collectable, we've talked about it. We've talked about it in previous weeks. How it was still low compared to recent sales, and was one of those things that at 130,000 or whatever it was sitting at, it's still so low compared to to recent sales, and we've said that all cards are not the same. You name it, blah blah blah.
Especially with that card.
Memory Lane had one end this weekend. Memory Lane. So guys, it's not just looking at PWCC auction. You got to know what auctions are out there. You got to look at those comps, right? And Memory Lane had one, and Collectable has theirs at $134,000. The Memory Lane ended at $160,736. Memory Lane, significantly higher, a nice 25% premium to what the one on Collectable is trading at. So if you're holding that,
was it a nice copy cage?
Yeah, about the same. I mean, listen, those cards I believe were like wire cut, so it's you're gonna have some white on the light blue border on those things. They're difficult to to find in in perfect shape. That's why I think are there 3 10s, 2 10s? There's not a lot of of high grade versions of that card. The 9 is about as nice as you can expect to find anywhere. But it's just it's another one of those ones that we've talked about a few times on the show, and you don't get good comps on that that often. But now we have a recent comp, right? No one likes to talk about hockey, right? No one likes to talk about hockey, but this is one where, in addition to the, the lower end on Exquisite, I do try to find, similar things. And this one happens to be a direct comp, right? It happens to be exactly the same card and exactly the same grade. And yeah, I mean,
that card's interesting, right? Like the Mantle 8. Not a lot of sell-offs in between auctions, right? Because you don't see that card come up for auction very often, but it doesn't dip a lot. The Gretzky, also, you don't get to see PSA 9s that often.
Correct.
And that one has a little bit more of paper hands. So you see that one actually fluctuate more. You could swing trade this Gretzky because, I mean, Gretzky's going to go down as maybe the greatest great of all time. No one was as good at hockey as Gretzky.
So we've talked about this one in January, down 5% here that week. We were talking about it, and I was looking for this because I wanted to pull up our old show notes, which I have. And I remember when this one was 124, we were talking about it. It had just dropped 5% that week back in January. The comp on that was a Robert Edwards auction at 156. And we said, oh, well, it's only one data point, right? 156. And it started to move a little bit, and now it's 134 from when it was 124, right? Because people saw that data point, they weren't sold that 156 is the real value on the card because these cards are so subjective. Well, now you add to the 156 a second sale at 160, 160,700, and all of a sudden, the movement up starts to make sense. It's more than one recent sale, more than one data point. Both of them are significantly higher than what the Collectable one is trading at. To me, that that gives you some real guidance on the asset.
I love it.
Is that where you want to end us?
Unless you got something else fun to to chat with the folks about. I mean, if you do, I'm all ears, man. I am all ears. I like chatting about all this stuff. This is a fun episode because we get to talk about the market. We get to talk about the market overall. We get to see your takes play out. I mean, Giannis, this was like the argument of the week twixt you and I about how the Bucks are not going to win. You're a Giannis guy. He's not somebody I'm personally investing in unless I can get into the high-end stuff. And then all of a sudden, right after we had that, there's a flurry of emails about buyout offers and raising prices and all that fun stuff. So it's interesting to see it play out in real time. I got to tell you, this is just, my take. I think the LeBron stuff comes down a little more during the season because I think that's a train wreck. I think it's going to play out, over the course of the next couple of months, that Laker team is not going to look that good. But just like you saw Herbert, and I can't believe I compared Herbert to LeBron, but just like you saw everybody beating the hell out of a card, I think the LeBron stuff, there will come a point in time where some of those things they bottom out for an all-time great. Say what you want. I'm a Jordan guy. You're a Chris Paul guy. You're a Giannis guy. You're not a LeBron guy. But at some point, you have to acknowledge that he is one of the all-time greats playing the game. And his stuff will eventually hit a point where it's not going to be going down anymore.
That might
figuring out where that is.
What's the catalyst? It would be my question. What would move it?
Honestly, I don't see him not playing next year. I think he's going to play next year, not with Bronny. That's like years down the road, I think. But I think either he goes to another team in the offseason, or he does another one of these GM type of things starting next year, leading into the season where Anthony Davis is gone and there's another star being brought in. Maybe he's finding a way to GM himself and bring Lillard to play with him or Luka to play with him. I mean, I'm just throwing names out there now, but anything like that where you have headlines where he's now GMing his team again, pairing himself up with another super team type of thing that gets the people going, like that kind of stuff, right? That will be the catalyst. Whether it plays out or not is a different story, but you saw it this year with the Lakers bringing together this whole team. And there's a guy I know who compared this to other failed Frankenstein teams of the past and said it was going to be a complete and utter disaster when everybody else was crowning the Lakers the champ. You want to take a bow on that one?
Is that me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yes,
I don't remember.
All right, guys. Well, listen, enjoy. We hope you enjoy the All-Star game. When you listen to this, we definitely think there's a ton of actionable information for you to utilize and, get a head start on the trading week. This is another episode of the Fractional Report brought to you by Collectable before the opening bell. A lot of stuff in this one. Hope you have enough time set aside to digest it all. Take care, everybody.